I welcome you all for the session. I am Dr. Geeta, currently working as an assistant professor and head, Department of Biochemistry, Arcad Sri Mahalakshmi Women's College, Villapakam. In this session, I am delivering about nanomedicine. So, nanomedicine is nothing but the integration of technology in medicine. In nanomedicine, we are using diverse number of nanomaterials, and all these nanomaterials possess novel physiochemical properties, so which greatly expands a set of opportunities in developing drugs and to build out the diagnostic tools and to create some of the medical implantable devices. So this is the agenda of my presentation. Here we'll be discussing about the introduction of nanomedicine and what are all the drug carriers used to deliver the drugs, the nanomaterials with diagnostic properties, and the application of nanomaterials in tissue engineering and in the implantable devices. In addition to this, we are also going to see about the future prospects of nanomedicine. Let's move on to the introduction to nanomedicine. Nanomedicine is an interdisciplinary field of science and it requires the contribution from physicists, chemists, biologists, and technologists. So the nanomaterials used in nanomedicine has found high profitable niche in the industries, and it is estimated that approximately $3.8 billion is being invested every year in the global market. Coming on to the aim of nanomedicine, this nanomedicine is helpful in monitoring, to repair, to construct, and to control the biological system. Thus, the ultimate goal of nanomedicine is to improve the diagnostic and treatment modalities over the conventional methods. And this nanomedicine is thereby increasing the bioavailability of drugs. It is minimizing the side effects and it is maximizing the therapeutic efficacy, and thereby it is reaching the targeted site very efficiently. Inevitably, it proves the life of patients suffering from various regenerative diseases, chronic renal failure, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, etc. We'll move on to the drug carriers or vehicles used in drug delivery. Here I have enumerated few nanomaterials which has been currently used as a drug carrier. So the first one is liposomes, and it is followed by neosomes, dendrimers, nanoshells, aquasomes, carbon nanotubes, polyplexes, etc. Let me explain in detail about the liposomes. Liposomes, they are the amphiphilic bilayered spherical vesicles, and the amphiphilic, it is nothing but it possesses both hydrophilic and lipophilic characteristics. And the salient feature of liposomes are they are biodegradable, and it is a hypoallergic molecule, and this liposomes, it possesses some structural similarity with the biological membrane, and you can able to encapsulate both hydrophilic and hydrophobic drugs into the liposomes, and this liposomes is going to increase the efficacy of the drugs, and it is also increasing the therapeutic index, pharmacokinetic properties. So with all these features, it can be said that this liposomes can be used as an ideal carrier in the drug delivery system. The next carrier molecule is neosomes. Neosomes, they are structurally similar to the liposomes. So here you can find the only difference is cholesterol is acting as an excipient. Neosomes possess high resistance to hydrolytic degradation. It is also enhancing the permeability of drugs, and this makes the neosomes to act as a suitable carrier system. And the next carrier molecule is dendrimers. So coming on to the dendrimers, they are the synthetic molecules which resembles like branches of trees. And the feature of dendrimers is it can able to stay in the circulation for longer time as we require, and it is compatible with the guest molecule. It is also a biodegradable material. Thus, all these features may help in the dendrimers to be useful in drug delivery and in cancer cell recognition, and also it helps in identifying the level of drugs in cancer cells. So this is the structure of dendrimers. And the next carrier molecule is nanoshells. The nanoshells, they are cup-shaped or ball-shaped structure, and this nanoshells, it consists of non-conducting material as a core and covered by a metallic shell. So the shell is usually made up of either gold or silver. So when you alter the shell thickness, it can able to absorb different biological wavelengths, which is being used in diagnostic purposes. Following nanoshells, we have aquasomes. So this aquasomes, they are 3-layer self-assembled structure, and it is usually spherical in shape, and the nanometer is ranging from 60 to 300 nanometer. And the aquasomes, it possesses central solid nanocrystalline core, which is made up of ceramic diamond or calcium phosphate. And this core is coated with polyhydroxy oligomers, onto which biochemically active molecules are adsorbed. This image represents the ceramic diamond coats, that is a polyhydroxyl compound, and to which the drug is attached by the process called adsorption. And the next carrier molecule is carbon nanotubes. So this carbon nanotubes, they are the allotropes of carbon, and the carbon nanotubes, they resemble like long, thin cylinders, and it is usually constructed with length to diameter ratio. So coming on to the features of carbon nanotubes, they possess high aspect ratio, tensile mechanical strength, and thermal conductivity. All these properties makes carbon nanotubes to be used in the applications like in the development of sensors, electronic devices, and in the medical applications, etc. This slide represents the types of carbon nanotubes. So the first type is graphene carbon nanotubes. The second one is single and multi-walled carbon nanotubes. The third one is Russian doll carbon nanotubes. And the fourth one is parchment model carbon nanotubes. So the first graphene model carbon nanotubes, here it is made up of carbon atoms which is bonded by hexagonal mesh. And the next one is single and multiple wall carbon nanotubes. Here the single wall carbon nanotubes, it is a seamless cylinders which consist of one layer of graphene sheet. Whereas in multiple wall carbon nanotubes, you may see many layers of graphene sheets. And this Russian doll model carbon nanotubes, it contains carbon nanotubes, another nanotubes inside in it. And the last model is parchment model carbon nanotubes. So here the graphite sheet is rolled around itself in multiple times. And the last carrier molecule is polyplexus, which we can also call as lipopolyplexus. So this polyplexus, it is a complex which consists of liposomes and DNA. So for the conjugation of liposomes and DNA, we require a polycation. This polyplexus, they are usually used in gene transfection protocol. The morphology and transfection capability is highly dependent on the composition and charge ratio of the nucleic acids. This is the pictorial representation of polyplexus. And we are moving on to the important concept in drug delivery system is the active and passive targeting. So for explaining this mechanism, here I have taken cancer as an example. As we all know that chemotherapy is the conventional method which is used to treat the cancer patient. But the pitfall behind this is the use of cytotoxic drugs which is used in chemotherapy. So this cytotoxic drug is not only going to kill the cancer cell, but it is also destroying the healthy cells. Apart from this, the cytotoxic drug is also going to cause adverse side effects like neuropathy, nausea, fatigue, hair loss, etc. And this treatment option, it lacks the specificity towards the cancer cell. To overcome this issue, nanoparticles are used to deliver the drugs in the targeted site. These drugs entered into the cancer cells by adopting two important strategies. They are active targeting and the second one is passive targeting. Let me explain in detail about the active targeting. Here we have to attach the affinity ligands like antibodies, peptides, aptamers onto the surface of the nanocarriers. So for the conjugation, we have to use a variety of conjugation chemistries, and this nanocarriers is going to recognize and bind to the target cancer cells through the ligand receptor interactions. And this ligand receptor interaction which facilitates the release of drugs inside the cancer cells. And the second targeting principle is by passive targeting. So the passive targeting, it is enabling us to accumulate the nano drug into the tumor site very specifically. As we all know that tumor vessels are highly disorganized and it is dilated with a number of pores, and it is resulting in enlarged gap junction between the endothelial cells. So this may cause the leaky vascularization and it leads to EPR effect. This EPR, which is nothing but enhanced permeability and retention effect. And this EPR makes the nanoparticles to reach the tumor site very efficiently. These are all the some of the important concepts that we have to adopt in drug delivery systems. And next, we'll move on to the next application of nanotechnology in tissue engineering. So the ideal objective of tissue engineering is to replace or to restore the anatomic structures. And the anatomic structures are usually lost as a result of any injury like burn, accidents, etc. And the tissue engineered products, it consists of isolated matrix, extracellular matrix, signaling molecules, and some other growth factors. Here, nanotechnology plays a virtual role in creating extracellular matrix scaffolds. This scaffolds has its role in the development of bone marrow, bioartificial liver, engineered skin, engineered vessels, cartilages, etc. This picture illustrates the steps involved in tissue engineering. So very first, we have to isolate the cells from the patients and it has to be expanded in a culture medium. So the expanded cells are combined with various bioactive materials like nanoparticles into the biocompatible scaffolds. Again, culture it in a condition using specific culture conditions in order to promote the formation of tissues. And at last, the functional tissue engineered constructs are implanted into the donor in order to replace the damaged tissue. And the next application is nano-assisted regenerative medicine. So here, the best example for regenerative diseases in brain are Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, etc. For all these diseases, we are using the conventional drugs, but this conventional drug is unable to pass the blood-brain barrier. So thus, it is not treating the disease properly. But the nanoparticles, it has the excellent capability to cross the blood-brain barrier, and thereby it deeply reaches the brain cells so that it can able to treat the diseases by performing well in the brain tissues. So this picture illustrates the passage of conventional drug and nanoparticulate drug across the blood-brain barrier. And the next one is nanotechnology in bone tissue regeneration. So in case of bone tissue regeneration, we are using organic nanoparticles such as chitosan, silk fibroin, collagen, and hydroxyapatite. This hydroxyapatite containing calcium phosphate acts as a composite material. So when you attach the composite material with the matrix, it gets proliferated and differentiated by performing the regeneration function. Hence, you can say that this nanomaterials play a significant role in orthodontics. And the next promising application of nanotechnology is to develop the nanomaterials as the contrast agents in the diagnosis of diseases and the diagnostic MRI, positron emission tomography, 3D diffusion tensor imaging, and other imaging techniques are used to find out the diseases. So the first nanomaterial in diagnosis purpose used is quantum dots. So let us discuss in detail about the quantum dots. So quantum dots, they are the semiconductor nanocrystals with rich surface chemistry and optical properties. Quantum dots sizes usually ranging from 2 to 10 nanometer. Different size of quantum dots emits different color of light, which is due to the property called quantum confinement. And the quantum dots can be attached to various functional groups of molecules through thiol group, amine group, nitrile group, and carboxylic group. And the fluorescence emission wavelength of quantum dots can be tuned by altering the particle size and finds its application in order to trace the cell, receptor, antigens, and several other enzymes. This pictograph shows quantum dots labeled cancer cells which has been trapped into a mouse lung, and it is followed by quantum dots in centine lymph node and multicolor quantum dots injected into the live mouse, which is followed by molecular targeting of in vivo imaging of prostate cancer. The next diagnostic tool is limb angiography. Here in case of limb angiography, we are using the contrast agents, and the contrast agents used here are dendrimers, liposomes, and some other magnetic nanoparticles. So all these contrast reagents has been injected intravenously into the body, and this nanoparticles can migrate directly across the capillaries into the medullary sinuses within the lymph node via the lymphatic vesicles. And diverse number of researchers have been reported that one can able to find and discriminate the benign and malignant lymph nodes in patients suffering with head, neck, genitourinary, and abdomen pelvis cancer. Next, we'll move on to the important concepts in nanorobots. Nanorobots or the nano devices, which means tiny machines, and these nanorobots are used for maintaining, to protect, and to cure the human diseases. These nanorobots are introduced into the human through either vascular system or via catheter. Nanorobots are involved in both diagnosis as well as in therapeutic purposes. Coming on to the architecture of nanorobots, it consists of the following components like molecular sorting rotor, which is usually made up of carbon nanotubes. It is followed by propellers, fins, sensors, etc. The function of rotor is to change the direction of movement, and the function of propeller is to drive forward against the bloodstream. And the fins, it performs the propelling function, and the sensors, it is fitted both internally and externally, which functions to receive the signal movement direction. Yes, based on the size and shape, nanorobots are classified into the following types. They are nanobots, nanoids, nanomachines, nanospiders, nanites, etc. So these nanobots, they are usually made up of organic nanoparticles, and it possesses high strength and it performs well. Nanoids, they are usually activated and controlled by low radio frequency signals, and nanomachines, it can be programmed to replicate themselves. Nanospiders, it requires high voltage, and nanites, they wipe out in the events of malfunctions. The major medical application of nanorobots are nanorobots in dentistry and in arteriosclerosis and lung cleaning nanorobots. So in case of dentistry, this nanorobots is going to collect the pathogens, and it is destroying the pathogens, and also it is going to destroy the tooth blemishes. In arteriosclerosis, this nanorobots removes plaques along the arterial walls, and it functions to remove the blood clot. Thus, this nanorobots is treating the condition called arteriosclerosis. And in case of lung cleaning robots, nanorobots can collect foreign particles like fibers of asbestos and other lung toxic particles. Apart from this, nanorobots are involved in breaking the kidney stones, and it is a breaking blood clots which you can see in different organs, and it is going to detect and treat the cancer cells. And the next application is nanobiopsy. Here, the nanobiopsy is done to find out the brain tumor. It is not a simple protocol to diagnose brain tumor, and this complication is enabled by using the endoscopic nanopatterned pen, which completely maps the brain tumor. So using this nanopatterned pen, we can able to collect the floating cells and biomolecules. Here, we don't want to collect the brain tissue. And the next application in nanomedicine is the development of implantable devices. So let's move on to the implantable devices. Before that, we have to see what is meant by implants. Implants, they are the medical devices which is being manufactured to replace a missing biological structure. Also, it enhances an existing biological structure. A well-known example is dental implant. And the next implantable device is nanopump, which is used to deliver the insulin in diabetic patients. Here, nanopump is the implant which is administered into the body to deliver controlled rate of insulin. So by this nano pump, we can prevent overdosing of insulin, and you can also maintain the drug level in the body. The advantage of this nano pump is it is affordable cost, and it is allowing the efficient treatment, and thereby it maintains the quality of life of patients suffering with diabetes. And the next implantable device is microchips. So this microchips is developed with respect to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is nothing but bones become deteriorate, and the bones become very fragile. By implanting this microchip, you can deliver teriparatide, which is a conventional drug used to treat osteoporosis. So here you may not need to inject the teriparatide daily, and thus with the help of this microchip, you can eliminate the painful protocols. This microchip is going to respond wireless signals, and we can able to activate, deactivate, or to modify the drug dosage up to several years. And the next implantable device is retinal implants. So retinal implants are used in patients suffering with degenerative diseases like retinal pigmentosa, and this retinal implants may used to restore the sight. Retinal implants, its architecture, it consists of 3 mm microphotodiode array chip, and it consists of 1500 photodiodes. This is used to amplify the pixels. Here, this photodiodes, it stimulates the optic nerves to make a proper vision. So this slide shows the retinal implant. And the next implantable device is cochlear implant. We'll be knowing very much about this cochlear implant. It is used to restore functional hearing in the deaf patients. So the advantage of nano-based cochlear implant is the use of low energy, less stimulation current, high frequency resolution, where you cannot see this in traditional implants. This implant is developed by intracochlear gel nanomatrix, which is modified onto an electrode array and placed in the scala tympani. This implant interfaces the gap junction between the auditory neurons. And this is the image of cochlear implant. And the last implantable device is nano ribbon implant. And this implant, it powers the pacemakers with a heartbeat. This device converts heartbeat into the energy. Piezoelectric element is placed on the heart to draw the energy, and this is attained by the heart's movement. This device is usually made up of lead zirconate titanate, and the nano ribbon implant is a very flexible device, and it is made up of biocompatible plastics. So putting everything in a nutshell, using this nanomedicine, we can deliver the drugs into the targeted site very efficiently with a very less side effects, and you can detect the disease very rapidly, and we can also prevent the surgery. We can also eliminate the painful protocols. By all these things, we can cure the diseases very easily. At last, we'll see the future prospects of nanomedicine. So here we have nanopore sequencing, cantilevers with functionalized tips, microneedles, nucleic acid lattices, and scaffolds. So the nanopore sequencing, here the nanopore sequencing has the potential for discovering single nucleotide polymorphism, and it also determines the level of pathogens. Cantilevers, it is used to measure the biochemical interactions between the antigens and antibodies. Microneedles, it is used in implantation purposes and also in cell infusion techniques. The last one, nucleic acid lattices and scaffolds, it is nothing but the DNA devices which is used to design and to manufacture the artificial nucleic acid structures. And it is anticipated that global nanomedicine market would reach approximately $350 billion by the year 2025. Here, I have listed out some of the agencies who are currently working towards in the development of nanomedicines. So to name a few, Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, Abbott Laboratories, Combimatrix Corporation, and Merck, a very familiar one, Johnson & Johnson, Nanospectra Biosciences, etc. With all this, we can expect that this nanomedicine is going to revolutionize in human healthcare system in the near future. Let me conclude the session with a great scientist and teacher, Abdul Kalam sir quote, "Excellence is a continuous process, not an accident. I request the students community to excel in your education and to reach great heights in your future." Thank you one and all for giving me the opportunity.